everyone. Welcome back to the Going Scared podcast. This is your host, Jessica Honegger, founder of the social impact fashion brand Noonday Collection. Are you ready for honest and vulnerable conversations that will inspire you towards action? Join me here every week for conversations on living lives of purpose by leaving comfort and going scared. Okay, when you talk to someone who just feels fully comfortable in their own skin, who is operating from their place of essence and authenticity, you know what it does? It makes you all at once feel like you also can operate from that place. That is what my conversation was like with Bozoma Saint John, or as our friends call her, Boz. Bozoma is the Chief Marketing Officer at William Morris Endeavor, a global leadership of entertainment, sports, and fashion. She's worked with celebrities like Beyonce and Dr. Dre. She has been awarded the Billboard's Women in Music Hall of Fame and the American Advertising Federation Hall of Fame Achievement, as well as recognition on the Hollywood Reporter's Women in Entertainment Power 100 list in 2018. But our conversation today called me forth into a place of authenticity, particularly authenticity in the workplace. Give this conversation a listen. You are the third member of the West African Voltron to come on my show.
Really?
Yes.
So, and obviously we know Tiffany, right?
We know Tiffany.
Who else?
Lovey,
the Lovester. Oh, love stuff, as we call her, love stuff.
I love me some love stuff. And
yes.
Yeah, and then one of my really close friends is a Nigerian American, and she wishes she was in it. So she's got all sorts of feels today.
Oh, that is so awesome.
All sorts of feels.
It.
But I wanted to start there. I wanted to hear a little bit more about the role that girlfriends have played in your life.
Yes. So, girlfriends. Where do I start? Well, my first girlfriends were my sisters. I'm the oldest daughter of 4 girls. And
wow.
The years between myself and the youngest is only 6. So we're all very tight, very close in age.
Wow.
And obviously, as you grow older, that's a whole nother podcast about the relationships of sisters.
Oh my gosh.
We'll leave that for another time. However, when we were younger,
where are you in the lineup again?
I'm the eldest.
You're the eldest.
I'm number 1.
Wow, that's a lot of pressure.
Oh, it is. Ooh, girl, we could talk about that too.
Ooh. Yeah.
However, I think maybe for my family, the opposite was true, which is that you find that sisters probably fight a lot when they're kids and then find their way as adults, right? But for us, we moved around so much when we were younger. My parents moved around a lot. And so our only friends, when you go to a new place, is the people you're with, your family, your sisters. And so even my sister, who is closest in age to me, she's only 15 months younger than I am, we would always be in the same school, So she'd be the one
Wow.
I look for at lunchtime. Or that first recess, that second recess.
And one of the few Africans, because I know you grew up in...
for sure.
Yeah, Colorado.
Yeah, exactly. So I was always looking, so my sisters were my first girlfriends, but I've also very naturally found, my tribe, especially as I became an adult. The girls that were in the same industry as I am. Or the ones who were sort of in the same life stage, that you could share your successes, but also your insecurities and your questions, all the things with them. And so girlfriends have played a major role. Currently, as you said, yes, we have a West African Voltron, but aside from that, we have, our Women of Waves group that we have our own little private conversations outside of the men. And, my girl chat group that make me feel amazing, for my accomplishments, or that I can come to with questions about the Diva Cup. You know what I'm saying? Like these are all the reasons why we have these people close to us, so that we can, really get the support that we need.
Yes. I love that. Do you think having all of those sisters, because I don't think all women actually have built, maybe they're have loose relationships with women, but I know you've really gone deep. And do you think growing up with sisters is really what influenced you to know that women are safe? And you have an incredible relationship with your mom.
That is a very good question. Yes. Are women safe? I mean, there are definitely relationships, right?
Mm,
That make it difficult for women to trust women. And you are completely
mhm,
correct that I believe it starts in childhood. If you have any kind of trauma or issue with a mother or a sister or an aunt or a cousin or something like that who has betrayed your trust, it makes it very difficult to trust other women as you grow. I also think that society, of course, plays a lot into whether or not we, I don't know, value women's opinions over men. That in
mm,
adolescence, as we get into the later teenage years or young woman years, we're looking for the approval, sometimes of men, right, of our bodies, or especially in the work environment. More than likely your boss or your boss's boss or whoever the CEO is a man, and you're looking for his approval in order to move up, right? And so those are the voices that you trust, and not necessarily those of your sisters and the women around you. So you're absolutely correct. I think that for me, I was very fortunate in growing up in a family of women. My mother is one of five daughters. Like I said, I grew up in a house of or four daughters, and cousins, where it's like, my closest cousins, like two of the three kids are girls. Like I grew up with women,
mm.
and so
Yes.
I trust women. Women are the people that I find comfort in, not men. And so it has been for me absolutely necessary to continue to find my tribe of women as I grew older and had the choice versus just being born into it.
I think it's so powerful because it's so unique. And yet, your career path, I mean, hello,
Right.
Uber, hello, global consumer marketing at Apple. I mean, these are very dude centric places where you have worked. And yet, it sounds like you have really taken your femininity with you into these
Right.
places. Can help me understand that a little bit. I run a company and we are 95% women. I have about 60 employees, 95% women. So I've kind of surrounded myself with females.
Right.
It's only when I go into real CEO environments where I am definitely the minority. And I've definitely had to kind of create a narrative around taking my femininity in those places, still wearing my statement earrings and my tight
Mm-hmm.
jeans if I want
Mm-hmm.
to in these places. So, what's your journey been around that?
Um,
Because I know Uber was like a dude, all dudes.
Woo! Yes, yes,
The
yes.
bro
But that's,
culture.
yeah, bro culture. Everywhere is a bro damn culture.
Yeah. Well,
No, really, I'm very proud of you for the company you've built or building. I mean, gosh, that sounds very wonderful.
it's kind of ideal. I'm building my own utopia.
Yes, go for it. Golly. So funny. I was talking to Anne Wojcicki recently, and she has a living situation that I was like, girl, what? I'm coming to move in with you. She's in San Francisco, and it's like, I don't remember exactly, but it's like her, and it might be her sister, might be
Okay.
some other girlfriends. They have like a compound, really.
Ah,
And so it's like the
that's
women and the
glory.
children, and they're raising everybody together.
Oh, that's
And I was
glory.
like, what? I was like, I am coming there with my daughter, and we are
Mm.
living with
Well,
you,
that's African though. That's like, I mean,
It
that's what
is.
I
It's
love,
super.
about
Very much so.
yes,
Very
yes.
much so.
Whenever I go visit my African friends, which I travel to Africa pretty frequently, half the time I don't even know whose daughter belongs to what mom because it's the
Oh,
tribe. It's the
absolutely.
tribe.
Absolutely.
Okay, so anyway, so your journey.
Yes, my journey. Yeah, I mean, it has been very much, in the company of men. And you're right in that I do bring my femininity because I just realized very early on that the men wouldn't see me as a man, right? They just
Mm.
wouldn't. I would always be a woman.
But
And
that's like that's such a simple truth that actually can have radical consequences in how you show up.
absolutely. Well, because it's like, we spend so much time trying to peel back our femininity, right? You're wearing the pantsuits. Nothing against pantsuits. I like a pantsuit too. But, it's like you're spending your time with like the blue button down shirt and the pantsuit and pulling your hair back and not wearing lipstick and, oh, my red nail polish is too bright, so that men don't notice. Like as if men don't notice that you got boobs. You
They're
know what
always
I
going to
mean? Like
notice.
they notice that. And beyond the physical, I mean, I don't want to gender stereotype at all, but we do have some other characters about ourselves that are very feminine, you know? And I specifically, and again, I'll just speak for me because I don't want to stereotype anyone else, but I lead with my emotion.
Mm.
You know, it's like when I'm upset, it is going to show up. Okay. My voice is going to go up about 3 octaves. I may get tears in my eyes. I am going to be passionate. You know, like those are very much qualities, maybe just about myself, maybe not just about being a woman, but about myself that I allowed to show up because I realized that I wasn't fooling anyone. I wasn't fooling anybody. And by the way, it's not just about femininity, it's about my blackness too. All of the things that make me me. Yeah.
Was there a time when you weren't showing up like that?
For like 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah, for a hot
Wow.
second. For a hot second.
Gosh.
And you know what? I had the real fortunate, really a blessing of having my first boss. My first boss was Spike Lee. And he's
Wow.
super black, right? He's like, I mean,
Yes.
everybody knows that. And so working for him for 4 years, or the first 4 years of my career, allowed me to like really step up in that space, you know, and just be who I am in my blackness, which was obviously one part of my identity. When by the time I got to PepsiCo, which was the job right after working with him, and I realized that like, oh, this is a super stark white environment, mostly men. Um, I wanted to fit in. All of the leadership were white men, all of them,
Mm.
and I didn't want to be the weirdo who did not identify. And so I tried to wear the suit. I tried to wear, like I said, the blue button down. I'd wear the khakis on the casual Friday. I tried to learn how to golf, hated it.
You are kidding me. You really went all
Oh,
in.
I went. I was committed. Well, because I want to succeed.
Of
Who of
course.
us doesn't want to succeed?
And you're young.
Yes, and you're ambitious, you know?
Yeah.
And I wanted to win. I absolutely wanted to win. Stop at nothing, right? To win. I was going to do everything humanly possible to try and get in with those boys, and they did not let me in.
Huh.
Absolutely not. And by the time I realized that there was no getting in, that I'm just going to be me.
Mm.
You know, it's like I'm going to show up with a leather skirt then and my long ass nails.
Might as well just be me.
Yeah, might as well. And you know what? I'm going to play better at this game anyway because I'm going to be able to bring all the things that you think you can do that you can't do, all of the stuff that you think you know that you don't know. I'm going to bring that. I'm going to be the expert. You know, so I'm going to be the expert in pop culture. I'm going to be expert in women. I'm going to be the expert in like social causes and things that you're too busy to know about.
Mm.
Because guess what? At the end of the day, you're going to need to know that stuff if you want to sell to these people.
Well, and you ended up leading PepsiCo into music marketing. So who's at
Yeah.
the golf course now?
Exactly. Because guess what? Now you got to leave the golf course to come to the studio with me. And who's going to let you in?
I can't help but think I heard this story about your mom that you're 12 years old, you're growing up in Colorado, and
Yeah.
you're having your track group or whoever over to your house on Friday night, and your mom
Hmm.
refuses to order pizza takeout. She's
Oh,
like, "No,
yes.
I'm
Yeah.
cooking Ghanaian
Yeah.
food."
Yeah. That's right. That's absolutely right. And that it was so brilliant because, now that I'm a mom, I understand her motivations and probably the fear that drove her, right? Um,
Mhm.
because it's as any parent would tell you, right? It's less about like planning what's the best thing for your kid. You're just trying not to like screw them up, right? That's your constant fear. Like, let me not mess up this kid. And so I can assume that now her motivation for saying, listen, you are Ghanaian, okay? Like these people, they
Mhm.
look at you, they see your face, they see your dark skin, they say your name, and they know you're Ghanaian. There's no way that you are something else. So just know that you got to be proud of that thing. You cannot pretend and cannot assimilate into somebody else's culture and think that all of a sudden they forgot that you are different. But guess what? That difference is still going to be celebrated. Like you can celebrate it, you can be proud of it. And if you're proud of it, maybe they'll see the pride that you have and be more curious about why it is that you're filled with so much pride about that thing. And then maybe they'll begin to appreciate it. But if you're not full of pride, if you are hiding it, if you're trying to make it lesser than, if you think it is lesser than, so will they. And therefore, you won't be strong and you won't be significant. And although she did not articulate it like that to me at the time, it was absolutely the case as I grew up. And so, yeah, those Friday nights where she refused to serve pizza, but instead cooked hot pepper soup and forced my friends to eat it while I was like literally embarrassed beyond belief,
Mm,
as an adult, absolutely reminded me that I never have to assimilate. I don't have to pretend that I like to golf. I don't need to
mm.
pretend that like I'm going to eat a salad. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to
Wow.
pretend that it's okay for you to mispronounce my name.
Mm,
That I will correct you until you say it right because I'm proud of it. And I'm proud of my culture and I'm proud of the way I grew up and I'm proud of all the things. And therefore, you're going to find value in it because I find value in it. It's such a great lesson. Such a great lesson.
we actually have a son from Rwanda, and we were
Hmm.
hanging out last night in the hot tub. We have these family hot tub nights, and he started talking about his Black power.
Mm,
And it's just this whole idea that you've gotta own exactly who you are, and he's obviously in a family, where he does look different than his mom and his dad, and,
right.
um, but the pride that you're more is caught than taught, and your mom
Hmm. Hmm.
just you caught it. You caught it from your mom, you caught it from your dad. When did you
Yes.
know that you were on this leadership path to really be a trailblazer? You were someone who's like, "I'm not gonna mimic, I'm not gonna copy, I'm gonna blaze my own trail."
Yeah. Oof. Gosh, I don't know if it ever came to me all at once. And if I'm being totally transparent, I don't know that I know it now. Um,
Okay.
it is. I think it's just. Oof, gosh, how do I answer that? I feel like it's really a journey, in to leadership.
Yeah.
And I would say that it's more like this is gonna sound so silly, but it's the only way I can think of it right now at this moment. It's like almost like just gathering more friends along the along the journey.
Mm.
Just more
Mm.
people who clap and cheer and go with you because they believe you. That's
Mm.
that's what it feels like to me today, and it's perhaps what I have felt all along, right? That it hasn't always been like, oh, how many people are with me? It's always just been like, well, how many
Mm.
people are really passionate about the idea that I have or the thing that I said, and they're going to also do it, or they're going to cheer me on to do it, or they're going to convince these other people to come along the journey too. And that has been leadership for me, and so that it
Yeah.
has never been about again the numbers of people or the title. And even in places where I've had the title, where I still have to fight for the recognition or for the acceptance, it has still felt to me like, okay, how do I get these people to really understand what I'm saying, and come along with me?
That is such a collaborative approach to leadership. I've never heard anyone describe it like that. Tell me what's been some of your biggest, like, leadership absolute mess ups that you've learned from
Hmm.
over the
Mm.
years?
Ooh, the mess ups. Oh man.
Because that's where we grow.
Exactly. That is where we go. Well, maybe it's part of it's it kind of sits alongside of what I just said, like, and these were probably early lessons, which
Mhm.
were that like you really cannot go the road alone. I mean, you cannot, like, none of it. Never when you stand up on the podium accepting that award or being inducted into the Hall of Fame or into that article where they're praising you for being the most creative. None of those things you got there by yourself. The
Mm.
ideas maybe started with you, but then you needed other people in order to make them live and grow and get bigger and get the kind of
Mhm,
recognition that was
mhm.
necessary in order to achieve that kind of stature. And early on, I thought it was just me. I thought I was, well, I am the most brilliant, but I thought I thought it was just, my own willpower and muscle would get me all the accolades, right? Would like you just push through. I don't, there I feel like I'm one of those people who just like by sheer will, I'm going to get it done. You know what I mean? And I still have
Uh-huh,
that
uh-huh.
kind of energy now, but I just know that like my sheer will means that I'm going to get a ton of people with me and we're going to make a movement rather than just me
Mm.
pushing against the idea myself. And I made that mistake early on, thinking that it was just me. And even if I had four people reporting to me, that it was my idea and you guys are going to do it because I said so. If like
Mhm.
that, okay, people will do that to a limit because yeah, you're their boss and they're going to do what you say. But most people are going to go that extra mile because they truly love you and they want to see this idea win, not because you told them to, right? And not because you have power.
So did you have to really learn how to slow down and value relationships and people over outcome? Because it sounds like
Hmm.
probably how your maybe people under you or even your colleagues would describe in your 20s that you worked with would probably describe you very differently than the people you work with right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I would say that maybe it wasn't so much a slowing down, but learning what everyone else's motivations are so they can keep up the speed. I don't think there's one
Okay.
person who works with me now or worked with me in the past who would tell you that I slow for anything. it's probably it's probably the biggest
That was
criticism.
the wrong word to
Exactly. Yeah,
use.
yeah, yeah. No, no, no. I move so fast. Oh my God. And I'm impatient. Lord help me. I am impatient. I want it done today. I want it now. I want the results yesterday. Like I said,
Mhm,
I am
mhm.
pushing, I'm pushing constantly. Let one person say, like, oh no, I don't think that's gonna happen, or I'm not sure that we can do that. What? That's like my trigger. I start spazzing.
Don't ever
No,
say
don't say that to
no.
me ever. Don't say it. Like, no, somebody say, you know what? I don't know if it's going to work that way, but I think if we do it this way, it might work. Or that's a good idea, but what if we added this thing to it? Oh man, I love that. I'm like, yes, 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 yes. Go do that. Go do that thing. Because my idea is not necessarily the end all be all. I would much rather hear somebody else have a different idea or a different way to approach it.
Yeah, that's true. So you're a marketing executive and you are a creative. So how like I wish I could just be a fly on the wall in a creative meeting with you because because you're a hard driver, and you're running fast, but you're also working with a lot of creatives that need this sort of like space, and every creative has a different process. And so what would you describe as like a really energizing meeting for you? Like what did you do to kind of create that when you get home from work and you're like that was a good day? What are some of the things you did to create that?
Yeah. Oh, okay. So this is a little more complicated, um, because again, I've learned over time and over years about how different people like to work,
Right.
right? And that not everything works for everyone at the same time. So even today, I don't have brainstorms anymore.
Okay.
Because a lot of people don't work well in that environment. They
Uh-huh.
feel pressure and they feel anxious.
And they feel like they have to be the one in the room to like say the coolest thing.
Yeah, with like the brilliant idea. Yes, and all you get are people just parroting and
Mm.
talking nonsense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they're just trying to show off. Yeah. And then you have the really brilliant ones who are really scared and don't want to say their idea out loud either because they haven't really thought through it, or they want to, just test it out and see if it really works, and they don't want to say it until they're sure.
Mm.
And so it doesn't then work. You don't get great results that way. So for me at this moment, I love like one-on-ones.
Mm.
Really, I do. One-on-ones are really great because then you can better achieve, um, being able to get somebody's best when they are doing it their
Mm.
way. And again, it's just a lesson in putting myself second, right? Is that it's really the idea of servant leadership, where I am much more able to say, okay, in that one-on-one situation, okay, I just had a meeting with this other person. They said X, Y, and Z. What do you think of that? What's your idea about this project that we're working on? How would you do it differently, or do you agree? Those type of leading questions that allow us to talk it out. I also like there's some people on the team who don't necessarily like that sort of like on the spot
Mhm.
thinking,
Mhm.
right? And so it means like putting the idea out and then asking people to think about it. And those who want to come talk about it, let's set up time and talk about it. And those who just want to take a couple of days to figure it out, do that, right? And then we can
Mhm.
talk about it. So again, it's about really understanding how people work and then working towards their needs. Now, because I'm a leader and because I have deadlines, because I have things I need to get done, this is also about good
Mm.
communication, right? So that people know what you expect. Again, for instance, there's not a person who works for me that will tell you that if I ask them to do something, that I expect an answer from them or acknowledgement from them next week. I want that acknowledgement
Mm-hmm.
right this minute,
Yeah.
as soon as you
Yes.
get it.
Yes.
I need you to know that you understand what I'm saying and that you're going to go do the thing. And I need updates along the way so that I know that you're doing it. Maybe it does take you a week, but I need to know that what's going on,
Mm.
but that's my trigger. It's not so much like what's at the end, but like the process along the way that's going to make me sane, because there's so many bosses and leaders out there who will, I call it punishment, right? Punish their teams for not working at the pace or not doing it the way that they want it to be done. But it's actually just
Mm.
misdirected because one, you didn't communicate the way that you needed to get the information to your team, right? They don't know how to work with you. And then also, you're not working at their pace. You're not working with them on how they need to get things done because no two people are the same. You can't run a team thinking that like one size is going to fit all, or one way to motivate people is going to fit everybody.
I mean, it's so interesting because you are uber creative, uber smart, and yet you've taken this entrepreneurial path within a very corporate setting.
Hmm.
What do you think has helped you, or even for our listeners who are listening right now, who are entrepreneurial, but they're working more within a structure, more of a corporate structure? What advice would you give them to kind of blaze that entrepreneurial trail?
You know, the thing about any success, I feel like, I used to believe that adage that said, you know, find a way to get paid for the thing that you like to do, or whatever, however it was said. They're probably more eloquent at that, something. Take a version of that. Um, I don't like that so much, just because I feel like it's like, listen, I may like to drive, but if I became a truck driver, I probably hate to
Mm,
drive.
right. Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I don't know necessarily about that, but I do believe in finding the passion point in the job that I'm doing,
Mm,
so that I can then iterate. Like my core belief, and again, maybe it's a simple statement that speaks to something deeper, but my core belief is that nothing is the same after I leave it.
mm.
Nothing, not a space, not an idea, not a presentation, not a coffee, nothing, 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 nothing. And so, what am I going to do in that space to iterate? There should really be nothing in my life where it's like I came and nobody knew I was
Wow.
there. And I feel like at the core of entrepreneurship is that sense. You want to create something new. Maybe it's not brand new, maybe it's an iteration on somebody else's idea. But whether that is to start a new business or a completely new business, right? Or it is to create a new space inside of a big company, it is my expression of entrepreneurship.
Mm.
That the spaces that I'm in are just never the same after I leave, that I am creating something new within it all the time.
So simple, and yet it drives so much clarity into how you can approach your
Hmm.
job.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Yeah.
saw that last week. I am friends with Suzanne Hendricks, and she, I know, was a judge on Miss Universe. And so
Yes.
I saw you in her Insta stories, and
Oh,
I was like,
who I am in love
she is
with. Oh
such a
my
blast.
God.
She's so fun. Okay,
Yes. Oh,
so
she
I want to
is.
hear about that because, okay, I'll be completely honest and
Oh,
blunt.
girl. How much time do we have? Because I have so much to say about this.
Okay, because I want to hear, because I was following her on her stories, and then and then when I saw you show up in her stories, I was like, oh my God, I'm interviewing her next week. And I did think like, Miss Universe, like, is that okay? So I had this sort of like, what's happening here? And so
Yes, what is happening? Oh my God, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. I cannot wait to talk to you about this. Okay.
okay, so okay, tell me.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you exactly what's going on. Okay, so here's the deal. Okay, so full disclosure, Endeavor owns Miss Universe,
Okay, yeah.
right? So when I joined Endeavor,
Okay, actually, I didn't know that, so that makes a whole lot of
okay,
sense.
yeah. But when I joined Miss Universe, but by the way, there's a lot of things at Endeavor that I'm like, I don't know about that. We should shut that
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
So it's not as if I couldn't come in and say I don't agree with Miss Universe. We need to
Right.
get rid of it. I could have said that, but I didn't because of this reason. One, I fundamentally believe that the way that society looks at women and judges women has been formed a lot around these types of contests.
Mm,
And it is the most recognizable judging pageantry stage that a woman has in the world.
mm.
Hands down, bar none, there's nothing second, nothing even close to second. If you say Miss Bangladesh, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Right. That's so
You know what I mean?
true.
That you know who she is, you have an image in your head, it's done. It is the way in which we judge
Mm,
women. It's like beauty and, you know, how she walks and how she presents herself. Is she articulate in some sort of passive, non aggressive way? Does she smile prettily? You know, all of that stuff,
right.
right? So, if we are able to evolve the way that we use that platform to redefine women,
Mm,
then we're going to change the world. And while that might sound like such a big, crazy, maybe arrogant thing to say, I really do believe it.
well,
And so I want to be a part of that change. I want to be a part of that evolution. And to me, it doesn't mean that we get rid of the whole thing because that's actually quite unrealistic. We're going to judge women based on these metrics if we don't change the competition itself. Getting rid of it doesn't get rid of the
right.
issue. You know, it's almost like being like, we just turn a blind eye, you know, stick your head into the ground. No, that's not going to change anything. We need to change the platform. And changing the platform, again, isn't about abolishing any one particular area of the competition. It's just about like making it more modern. And so people ask me all the time, they're like, well, what about the bikinis? What about the swimsuit competition? Isn't it demeaning? And I'm like, okay, so let's talk about this, right? Again, focus group of one, okay? Me, just me. I'm a complete whole woman. Okay. If you look at my Instagram, you will see that when I go on vacation, I'm in bikinis and I had to pose my ass off. Okay. I'm over here showing off my abs and my ass. If I am in a club with my girlfriends, I've got my drink in my hand and I am turning all the way up. When I'm in the boardroom, you will see me challenging people's ideas and concepts, or I'm sitting at the top of the room and I am leading the mission. If I am with my daughter and I am doing some little crafting or I'm cheering her on her basketball game, I am a whole mom.
Mm,
All of these parts are important. If you tell me that because I'm in a bikini, I cannot also be in the boardroom, you and I are going to have a problem.
mm,
You know, if you tell me that like me celebrating my daughter or leaving the office early in order to go cheer her on makes me less passionate about driving the bottom line, we're about to have a problem.
mm,
You know, all of these things are the makeup of a whole woman.
mm,
And so I don't think that there's anything wrong with showcasing that or finding the best who represents that for us. Now, I do think that there's some evolution to be had though, because it shouldn't just be about who's the skinniest, right?
mhm,
Or who has like the flattest stomach. But I look at like Miss USA currently, and that homegirl is fit.
mm,
I mean, I'm talking about like fit. She means that her nutrition is on point. It means that she is caring about her body and working out. Therefore, she is concerned about her own health. Women's health is a real issue. Okay. We are dying at rates with heart disease and issues like more than men. And so we do need to be concerned about our fitness. So, can we make the quote unquote swimsuit competition more about fitness and our health than something else? Yes, we can. You know, can we change the narrative about this, you know, the question that they have to answer, which, you know, in the past has been like, how are you going to solve world peace? Or some other answer, or like, do you cook well? Or what's your favorite dish? You know, like that question. Can we evolve that? Because we've forgotten that most of the contestants who enter these pageants are graduate students. We forgot that. You know,
mm,
it's like there are graduate students who have higher degrees who are reading books upon books upon books. Let's ask them about economic development. Because guess what? Most of them who graduate from this program or who win titles and therefore cash prizes use that money to start their businesses.
yeah.
When I found out that the economics around the past alums, you know, shows that a majority, overwhelming majority of them become entrepreneurs in their countries and therefore
Mm,
begin to change the economic structure of their countries. Girl, what?
yeah.
I was flabbergasted. We don't think about that.
Yeah.
We only think of these bimbos and bikinis.
Mm,
You know, we don't think about the whole woman. And even today in the United States of America, there are 5 women on Capitol Hill who came through the Miss Universe organization.
wow.
And so we don't think about the fact that we then leave from these types of institutions more empowered to take on leadership roles, you know, to, yeah, have a voice because we've practiced it over time. And so to me, it's like the winner needs to redefine so many things. And I'm so glad that Miss South Africa who for the first time in history is a Black woman
Yes.
with short, natural hair, is now the epitome of what we see as the most beautiful, as the most accomplished,
Mm.
as the most educated woman on the planet. That she's our Miss Universe. She's the one, she's the icon. She's the one that we're gonna look at and say, I want my daughter to be like her. What a powerful platform that is. And I want to continue to evolve it.
Well, you didn't give me the
That's what I did.
chills all over. I got the chills and I'm like, I like you. You're a reformer. And I
Yeah.
love that because it's all about
Yes.
embracing the ands and the paradox. And everything you've
Yes.
said is
Yes.
just so freeing. And yes.
Right? I'm like, let's cut the cord. Let's do the whole thing over. Let's just evolve the conversation. Because again, like I'm a woman who loves some lipstick, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But lipstick is my armor. I use that when I walk into a room. Yes, you're gonna watch the way my mouth moves because I have something to say. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like,
Yes.
so why should I be ashamed of that?
Mm.
I don't understand that. Let's fix this. Let's fix this judgment that we have on these women. Let's actually use it as a motivator, as an empowerment platform. And yeah, we could totally change the world.
Well, Boz, we like to close out our interviews by asking people how they are going scared right now. And I know it would be easy to look at you and
Hmm.
listen to you. And, I can hear your boldness and your confidence. And man, it is so refreshing and inspiring to me.
Thank you.
But I know that we all are scared. We all have fears.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
where's the place where you're going scared right now?
Ooh, man, it's so interesting because my fear doesn't stem from anything about myself.
Mm,
I feel you're right. I feel very confident in myself and in my abilities and, in my future and my destiny. Like I feel really confident about it. There's not much that like I look at and I'm like, ooh, if I want to do it, I can't do it, or I'm afraid or imposter syndrome. I don't feel that way about myself.
mm,
But I am scared about my mothering,
mm,
and the future of my daughter. It is the thing that keeps me up at night. It is why I stare at her while she's sleeping.
mm.
you
Yeah.
know, it is what I worry about, even for myself, right? Because then I worry about, okay, how much time am I spending on the road versus how much time am I at home?
Yes.
Am I pouring into her? What kind of woman is she going to be? Like, I want her to be great. I want her to
Yeah.
be like the greatest. And I want the things that I am doing now as a role model for her to be exemplary. So I hold myself to a pretty high standard because I know she's watching and she's emulating. But I walk in motherhood really scared.
Yeah.
I just want to be great. I want her to be great.
Has
Yeah.
to be the most vulnerable place in our
Oh,
lives.
absolutely. For sure. For sure.
And
For
you
sure.
have quite the mother. So,
Ah, yes.
yeah. And I find I grew up with a stay at home mom, and
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
taking such a different path than her. So I think some of that is like the path my mom took. I mean, it got her me, and I'm pretty awesome.
Yes. Right?
So, like, all that
Yes.
like, all of my mom serving on the PTA and, like, doing all the
Yes.
things that I'm actually not doing for my
I
kids, like,
know.
ah, I know,
I
but then
know.
also my daughter is already talking about, all the things that she wants to do to change the world and how she's a leader and how she wants to marry a man because my husband is
Yes.
actually a stay-at-home husband, and she's like, "I wanna
Uh-huh.
marry a guy who he's the one who's also helping with the house and everything," so
Oh, yes.
Ugh, but it's
See,
hard.
that's it. But you are so right because my mom was stay-at-home mom too, and she. It's so funny. The other day I was talking to her because my daughter's 10 and she's really loving to read. I read a lot, and she's really beginning to read. But I remember my mom reading aloud to us, me and my
Mm,
sister. She read us Four Women, and she read a lot of books. One of my favorite was Four Women, maybe because it was the four of us and the whole thing, right?
mm.
But like she did that every
Wow.
day. Every day she
Wow.
read aloud. Like we would gather around her and she would read and she'd read a chapter or a chapter and a half. And I have never done that. I have never actually, I mean, maybe when my daughter was like 2 or 3, so maybe some bedtime story, but not in years. I haven't read to her. And I was just
Yeah.
talking to her the other day and I was just like, I feel so terrible because, it's like, I wish I had the time, to be able to read to her. And it's such a good bonding experience. And we're sitting there and we're lost in a story together. And, my mother looked at me like I was completely nuts. She gave me that look, she was just like, what are you talking about? She's like, you take this child on a plane and take her to all of these events, and she walks the red carpet with you, and she stands proudly holding your hand, and she poses in front of the camera. You can see the beaming pride on her face, and she gets to see you talking on the stage. And she's like, you don't think that is as important or as special? And I was like, right. Okay. Let me get myself together. Let me find out what other stage I could go on. You know what I mean? Like, it just corrected me right away. Now, I don't know, what my daughter is going to say in 30 years, from now. She's going to have some other experience and going to, reference this moment and use it as an example of how she's either doing it the same or doing it differently. But again, it's why I walk scared, I'm just like, okay, I'm going forward, trying to do the best that I can do, and making sure that I'm not screwing it up. But there are lots of examples from my mother that I wish I could emulate now that I'm not.
We are close to wrapping up our New Year's series. This has been such an incredible series where we have covered topics around mental health, physical health, workplace health. Next week, we are going to be talking about home health. You'll be hearing from my architect and my interior designer about the 2-year remodel process that we just went through. I cannot wait for you to tune into this one. Now, if you want to be the first to see the before and after photos, make sure you subscribe to my email list. Head on over to jessicahoniger.com. I'd also love to hear what you've learned from this series. We're pulling together our interviews for our next series, and your input really, really matters. So leave it on iTunes. Head on over there and leave a review so that we know what's resonating with you and so that more people can find these sorts of conversations. Our wonderful music for today's show is by my good friend Ellie Holcomb. Going Scared is produced by Eddie Kolfoltz, and I'm Jessica Honiger. Until next time, let's take each other by the hand and keep going scared.